Okay, I might have some explaining to do. Yeah, it's Tuesday. These videos are supposed to be coming on Friday, and I said I would not become a procrastinator like always. Maybe that was the case, but maybe I have a reasoning. You see, Friday was a Friday the 13th, and I am not gonna mess with that, okay? I do not want to risk posting a Summer of Shrek video on Friday the 13th and risking Jason Voorhees coming out of my toilet like the fucking Ghoulies monster on the cover that's not even in the movie until the second one, and ripping my head off, and then, like, shoving it upside his butt. Like, no, I'm not risking that. And second, the scars of trauma from Shrek Extra Large were just far, far too deep. Like, holy crap. That game is bad. Thankfully, I'm pretty sure this next game on the list is pretty good. Oh, a GBA game. Oh wait, no, Color, Game Boy Color. Oh, my bad. No, I mean that can't be that bad. Oh, it's a fighting game. Well, let's see. Fighting games are good. I'm a big fighting game fan. This will be an easy one. Shrek, Fairy Tale Freakdown. This is gonna be great. Why has God abandoned us? So technically, this was the very first Shrek game. I was incorrect, but I did it on purpose and totally didn't just misread this. Totally did not think Shrek for the Xbox was the first game. No siree. Totally thought that it was this one and totally just skipped it because it's a spin-off game. Totally didn't just mess up my ordering. Well, it's a fighting game for the Game Boy Color, and it's got no multiplayer whatsoever, so forget about having a fighting game tournament with this game. That said, all the characters do have an unique and original moveset for you to enjoy and learn and master. Too bad there is only arcade tournament towers and practice. Yeah, this has a practice even though there is no multiplayer whatsoever. So you're just practicing for the towers, which have no reason not to just do it there. I don't know the point of that, but whatever. Unlike Shrek Extra Large, it's actually clear that the developers actually got to watch the movie this time. Wow, well done. Big Bad Wolf actually looks like the one from the movie. And we also got Donkey, Pinocchio, Robin Hood, Princess Fiona, Thelonious? Oh, it's the big executioner guy. Gingerbread Man, the Dragon, and Lord Fuckwad. What? It's his name, Lord Fuckwad. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that. The character was actually named Farquaad because they wanted to call him Lord Fuckwad. In fact, the entire movie was basically made to spite Disney by a former Disney employee. I'm not making this up. Farquaad is a stand-in for the Disney CEO at the time, who was a manlet, and who they would call a fuckwad, because he fired them. I'm not making this up, it's the truth. And you actually did know this one probably, but he does get a boner in the movie. The game was developed by a studio called Prolific, which, from the looks of things, never made any other games. This is it. I'm going to double check that, but they do not have a Wikipedia page. This may be their only game. I take that back. It looks like we're going to have to revisit them soon, because they also made Shrek Swamp Kart Speedway. I do not see any other games by them, though, so I guess they're only prolific in Shrek games. Let's hope the quality is good, since they're sticking with the big green guy for the long run, and I'm going to have to play at least 2 of them. The game has quite a few stages, but you only face the same guy in there always, considering the fact that this game is just an arcade tower. There's a couple stages that are mirror matches, but the problem with this is you're still only going to be fighting yourself, so there's no way to just choose the stage you want. It's single player only, and on top of that, it's arcade towers only. There is no 1v1 where you just pick your 2 fighters and pick a stage for whatever. That's just not in this game. Forget about it. You want to use the wrestling wing for a big-ass battle between Shrek and Donkey? Well, too bad, because that is only available for fighting the Executioner. And also, for some reason, Donkey is not playable. Yeah, he's in the game in name only. He's only on the menus. It says select a character, and the first one you see is Donkey. It's like, oh, cool, I can click Donkey. I can play as Donkey in this game, and you can't pick him. They just show Donkey. You can't pick him. He's in the menus. He's there. I guess he's like the freaking ring announcer. He's the Jim Ross. He's like introducing the fighters like fucking Howard Finkel, and then he's like fight, and that's it. He's either the Earl Hebner, the Howard Finkel, the Jim Ross. Maybe he's all of the above. I don't know, but he is not playable. The damn jackass isn't even playable in the first two Shrek games, and he's one of the main characters. I mean, at least he's actually in one of the first two Shrek games, because if he wasn't, then I wouldn't even know what to say. Also, on the realm of characters appearing in the menus but not the game itself, that's an odd trend for this Shrek game series so far, because I forgot to mention in Shrek Extra Large, on the choose your profile screen, Lord Fuckwad is there. But he's not in the game at all besides that. It's almost as false marketing as Donkey, but at least he's actually on the game disc. I mean, really, like, why are they putting these characters in the menus but not in the game at all? I mean, I can actually somewhat get it for Fairy Tail Freakdown, although, still, why can I not play as him? It's a fighting game and he's one of the main characters, but whatever, and it's just way more confusing for Shrek Extra Large. It really solidifies they just took random screens from the movie and threw them in there. Doesn't matter if it reflects the game at all. But back to Fairy Tail Freakdown, this game has a very interesting meta. There is really one way to win: ranged attacks. Everyone has somewhat of a ranged attack, but here's the catch is that those ranged attacks vary greatly. Some only go somewhat far, so they're practically not a ranged attack. But then you have others like Gingerbread Man, whose ranged attack goes like across the entire screen. And the other great part about him is he's so fast and he can spam the hell out of it, even as an AI, that he's basically unbeatable without being lucky as hell if you're not playing as anyone else who does not have a good range attack. Because holy hell, he is overpowered. He is by far the best fighter in the game. Like any Shrek Fairy Tail Freakdown tournaments, they better consider banning Gingerbread Man, or else I am going to call any of the results sus, unless everyone's playing as a Gingerbread Man. Assuming you could do a tournament, because again, this is a fighting game with no multiplayer, which is still just weird. Every character feels pretty damn clunky. The controls in themselves are pretty bad, and it doesn't explain them at all in the game. I had to actually look it up on the internet to understand how to do anything other than kick, punch, and jump. And there's something that they really do not explain that really pissed me off at first, was there's this invincibility power-up you can get to get invincible for like a couple seconds, and the AI would use it at the worst possible times, and I didn't even know it was a power-up you could use yourself. Well, you have to unlock it. They don't. They get it from the first stage somehow, but you don't. But I legit thought they just put that in there to discourage spamming. Which, if that was the case, which thankfully it is not, I do have to say one thing. If your fighting game needs to give the enemies invincibility to discourage spamming, you have an awful fighting game. That wasn't the case. Well, this is an awful fighting game. That is still the case. But that isn't why they have invincibility. It's just some weird power-up they decided to throw in that's just totally broken. And I think I know why Donkey is not playable in this game. You have to fight the dragon. And they are not going to risk putting domestic violence in a Shrek game. I mean, you could commit hate crimes against the gay Robin Hood merry men in Shrek Extra Large, but they're not going to risk putting Amber Heard behavior in this game. No, sir. I mean, you don't even get to fight Fiona in the game. That's right, she's not fightable. Unless you're playing as her and you fight her in mirror mode. That's the only reason you get to fight her. There's also no explanation for why you're fighting any of these, but I guess that doesn't really matter. You still gotta commit a hate crime against the big bad wolf. Trans people don't get it easy in this world, unfortunately. I'm all for equal rights and lefts. Let us play as Donkey, and let us beat up Fiona. You may also notice The stages have little holes around the place where you can fall into and you gotta jump over. The freaking hit detection for when you fall in there is so wonky, you can fall in there so easy. It is pretty bad. I will also say that this game overall is pretty bad, but I think that's pretty obvious. There is a reason this is one of the Shrek games that got reviewed by the angry video game nerd. I will just say that. In a way, I'm almost surprised this is not published by LJN, but instead it is published by TDK, who is now owned by Take-Two. But looking at their works, they're basically the LJN of the early 2000s. But without the cool 80s action figures of Hulk Hogan also in their repertoire, which basically makes up for everything. In fact, this was only their second game published. Before it is their first game, The Land Before Time Great Valley Racing Adventure for the PlayStation 1, which doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. In fact, I'm kind of surprised this Shrek game does, but the devs don't. And when I say they are the early 2000s LJN, I really mean it. Looking at their games published, we have Shrek Swamp Kart Speedway, all the Shrek games at that point. We also got Casper, the Friendly Ghost Spirit Dimensions. We got Masters of the Universe, He-Man, Power of Grayskull, all the way 20 plus years too late. We also got the Land Before Time games for the PlayStation 1, the first couple UFC games, or just the first one, the second one, I guess. Seablade, which is just another generic game, just like the generic ones LGN would make without the license. The Muppets, On With the Show. The Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl for the Game Boy Advance. Aquaman Battle for Atlantis, need I say more? And somehow, these devs, or publisher, I mean, were somehow decided to be bought by Take-Two. They're valuable enough to get bought. Take-Two decided, we're gonna buy, with our money from the Grand Theft Auto games, the LJN of the early 2000s. That's totally not gonna backfire. They literally only published a couple games afterwards. A Corvette licensed game in Star Trek Shattered Universe, but I'm sure by then the damage was already done to the TDK name. Shut them down. Damn, you're almost like an EA there. Oh wait, they actually did make a couple as Mediactive Europe, including a Conan the Barbarian game. Maybe I'll come back to that someday, because I sure would like to review the Conan the Barbarian games. Who knows? And yeah, most of this video I haven't talked about this game at all. But I mean, I've basically said everything I could about this game. Okay, now we're going to rank every fighter in this awful fighting game. We have the tiers as always. Shrektacular, the best in the game. Pretty good fighter. You're not doing too bad if you're choosing them. Basic fighter, they're like the most mediocre fighters in the game. Crap fighters means you're kind of screwing yourself. And disgustingly awful fighter means you just chose like the worst fighter in the game. We're starting off with Shrek, and he is he the worst in the game? He might be, the more I think about it. Yeah, the Shrek is the worst in the game. It's a Shrek fighting game, and he's the worst in the game. Well, actually, no, he's crap, because there's someone else that's a little worse, in my opinion. But Shrek is not good in this game. He's one of the worst ones in the game. You're basically, like, neutering yourself if you choose to play as him. You think he'd be good, because, you know, Shrek, but... Nah, he sucks. Next, we got the Big Bad Wolf. And, unfortunately, he's the worst in the game, in my opinion. At least he actually looks like the one from the movie, unlike the last game. But, oh man, he's awful. He sucks. Then we got Pinocchio, which is actually a pretty good fighter. I think you're not doing a bad choice if you choose him. He's pretty good. Then we got not Red Robin Hood. We got fucking Robin Hood. You know, he's a basic fighter. He's alright. He's got a good range attack, but other than that, he's kind of crap. Then Fiona, I also would put her in basic fighter. She's alright. But she doesn't have any range, and that's the meta of this game. And yeah, Pinocchio's got a range, but I think his range is, like, really good. Like, it's not as, like, far-reaching, but he's fast, too, and he does good damage, so that's why I give him the edge. Then we got the Executioner, and I actually think he's one of the better ones in the game. He's strong. He's not very fast, but he's very strong. He does a lot of damage. And he also has a really good range attack. And then we get to the broken and overpowered fighter, and that's Gingerbread Man. He's the best in the game by far. He has the most OP ranged attacks. He's like the fastest in the game. And he even does good damage with all of that. So that's pretty bad. Next we got the Dragon, who I think deals the most damage, but they're also the slowest in the game, and they don't really have a good range attack, so they're a basic fighter. And then last we got Word Farquaad, which is a pretty good fighter. One of the better ones in the game. He doesn't have a good range attack, though, so he's not as good as Gingerbread Man. Or the Executioner or Pinocchio. But he's really fast and he does good damage. So overall, not making a bad choice by choosing him, but still, this is the meta. The meta is always going to be the freaking Fro shit, because, I mean, first of all, this is a Game Boy game. It's not getting updates to balance the game. And also, too, this game is awful, so even if it could, like, why? And it's also, like, over 20 years old, so again, why? You know, being forced to play this game by my own cruel will has made me realize I was a little too hard on you, Shrek Extra Large, because I sure wish I was reviewing another one of you. Because holy hell, this game was terrible. Although, to be fair, I literally only had to play this game for 30 minutes. But that also was 30 minutes that felt like a fucking eternity because of how awful this game was. I just don't even know what to say. This is next level garbage. I know in the last one I said that Shrek Extra Large and Aqua Teen Hunger Force Zombie Ninja Pro Am are tied for my worst game ever award. Well, forget about that. They both are way better than this. This is a definition of a 0 out of 10 game. There is not a single thing that saves this game from existing. Okay, that's kind of a lie, because the render of Shrek in the menus does. That is an absolute meme. That is perfect. Although everything else in this game absolutely sucks. Just forget about this game, except for that one render that is so bad it's good. Just forget everything else, just keep that one thing. Because this game is certified dog shit. Well, as always, like the video if you like it, dislike it if you don't, I don't care, but Susan does. She removed the dislikes. Get the Etern YouTube dislike program for the Chrome extensions. Not even sponsored, I'm just saying it because I hate that they removed that. And, I mean, subscribe if you want, I don't really care. But if you want to see the next installment of the Summer of Shrek, you might as well. And also, we got something else cooking. I might have to do 2 retrospectives at once, but you'll just have to wait and see. Adios.